Hi, I'm Madonna.
I'm your worst nightmare.
To rule the world.
Why don't you show them what you do, honey?
You've never had more fun with anyone else.
People, we gotta move on to the next song.
I'm sweet and I'm a bitch, you know what I mean? And that's always been the way it is. I'm a human being.
I'm waiting.
Hi, everyone. I'm Donna De Lory, and you're listening to MLVC, the Madonna podcast.
And hey, guys, it's Tony. It's a big world. It must be Sunday somewhere. Hey, Stefan.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Tony. Hi, Donna. It's Stefan. Welcome to another episode of MLVC, the Madonna podcast, your place for all things Madonna, Louise, Veronica Ciccone. And as you just heard, our special guest is none other than Donna De Lory herself. Donna, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so great to be here with you guys, and I'm so happy that I got my computer working.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
This is a big thrill. I know that all of our listeners are very excited to hear us speak to you, so thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. I was really looking forward to this. So,
how is everything in California during these crazy days?
You know, it's great. I'm very grateful. I have to say, those first 2 weeks that we were quarantined, I mean, I had been out and about, doing my thing, going to the store and everything, and being with a lot of people. And, I don't know about you guys, but those first 2 weeks, it was like, do I feel something in my throat?
Oh, totally.
It's like everyone, we were all so paranoid. My daughter got a fever one day, and I'm like, oh boy. And it was very stressful those first 2 weeks. But after that, now I feel like, okay, I just have to be cool and stay in. And I go out on a walk or on a hike, try to get out every day. So that's really helping me, trying to get into our guest house and make music. I've been working on the piano a lot. And it's really funny because I wanted to work on a meditation CD. But for the last few months, I've been trying to get myself into that space of really going within and getting to that softer kind of side where it's more around the piano, me with the harmonium, very personal, inward. And sure enough, here I am. The whole situation has really brought me deeper into that place. So I'm just going with it, and I'm just, praying for everyone. And and I know out of all of this, as tragic as it is, I believe that good is going to come out of it. And I just keep, staying positive.
Yeah, I mean, I want to personally thank you. Your music has been beautiful to listen to over the last couple of weeks. Thank goodness for the internet. If it wasn't for social media and the internet, I don't know what we'd be doing during this time, staring at four walls. But it's been lovely to be able to go on and hear some of your music that you've been posting. So thank you for sharing that with everyone.
Oh, you're welcome.
I was doing deep dives into Donna De Lory's discography, but not only that, we had Bright Light single released, and that was
great.
So good. You and Niki sound amazing.
And so relevant for this time right now. And going back to what I was just saying, it's like ultimately, no matter where we are, we have to find that strength and that security in ourselves, no matter what the situation. So I just love the way his artistry and how he celebrates life. And he's a bright light.
Yeah, he definitely is.
He introduced Niki and I at Come On Everybody. And he was just we had just done, the day before, we just done our rehearsal at a rehearsal studio in New York City. And he showed up with his laptop to record the vocals for that song. And I'd never met him. We'd only spoken on the phone. And just right away when he came to us and asked us to sing on it, just through email, I just could feel what a good person he was. And I was like, yes. Called Niki. I'm like, we have to do this, Niki. So we got to do it. And so it was really quick, but he was just so generous to introduce us at our event. And it just made us feel so much more welcome and at home. And Niki and I were just starting to kind of do our own shows and everything. So we really appreciate him and the community, and thank you for being so interested in us.
That was a fantastic show. It was. We were both there, and it was absolutely. It was one of those things where the giddy 15-year-old me who was at Blonde Ambition tour, loving the songs and whatnot. I was so excited to go there because it was not just reliving that time period, but sort of evolving that. Like you you and Niki have both grown since that. And obviously everyone who was there has grown since then. And so it was really, really wonderful to, be a part of that energy. The energy was fantastic. Even though it was hot as anything in that venue, it was absolutely wonderful to be part of that energy that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. It's such a great memory. And especially now, as I'm looking back, I'm going through my phone, all my videos, of like, I was with people this last year. And it's like, you can't believe how we were all like hugging and hanging out so close. And it's so unbelievable, the contrast of where we are now. Mm-hmm. And it just makes us appreciate that closeness and how we all hung out afterwards for so long. And I'm so thankful and that I have that memory now and that to hold on to look forward to for when we all get back out in the world together.
Yeah.
Yes, it will happen.
So Stefan, before we go any further, why don't you introduce Donna to our listeners that maybe are not so familiar with her work?
Yes, if there's anyone who's listening and didn't grow up with Donna as a institution in their lives, we just wanted to give a little bit of background. Donna De Lory provided backup singing and dancing for Madonna on 6 of her iconic tours: Who's That Girl, Blonde Ambition, The Girly Show, Drowned World, Reinvention, and Confessions. Since
a lot of different hairstyles.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Since then, she's been releasing her own solo music and also recently collaborated with tour mate and friend Niki Harris for Songs and Stories, as we just talked about, as well as doing backing vocals for the new Bright Light single, This Was Our House. Her new single, released on April 16th, which should be the day that you're listening to this podcast, is titled Diamonds in the Sun, We Shine. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of ground that we can talk about. Tony, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Well, while we just mentioned the single, let's talk about your new single and everything that's going to come after that new single.
Yeah, well, I've been working on so much music, and another song that's going to come after that is me kind of recreating Just a Dream. Wow. That was my first. That was a song that Madonna wrote. There's a whole story around it, but it was from my first solo album, which is not available anywhere.
It's here in my house. I have a CD.
Right. You have it. But honestly, it's available like on eBay for like used copies, and it's not out anywhere. So I've been like slowly like, okay, I'm gonna, I don't have the right to release it on my own, really. So I'm gonna just keep re-recording the songs one by one. Mm-hmm. And put them on different kind of, EPs or albums. So I'd re-recorded Praying for Love, and now I've re-recorded Just a Dream.
Was it just a dream? Did I feel your devotion? Dreams are never what they seem. Did we just go through the motions? Was it just a dream? Did I feel your devotion?
And I got together with my band, and I wanted to change it. I wanted to make it more like fitting in with my music now, my singer-songwriter music, more like what I was doing on Here in Heaven, and just a lot of songs that I write. Mm-hmm. So I feel it's still pop, and the melody is still the same, but we kind of reharmonized the chords. Yeah. And we slowed down the BPM because the BPM was so fast. Uh-huh. and she didn't, what I had heard from her and, since then, just some things I'd read about the song were that she loved the song, but it was the same BPM and the same kind of sound as Till Death Do Us Part for Like a Prayer. And her and Pat, they wrote a lot of songs, they didn't have so many extras, but when she had heard what I was doing and she knew my voice and everything, she thought, because I wanted to do more kind of pop rock, mm-hmm. and she thought the song would be perfect. So she'd given it to me way back when. And then I got to like use her background vocals and it was super cool. So this time I'm doing my own backgrounds on the song. And so I'll be mixing that soon. And it's for an EP. So I've been working on that. And, because of all of this, I can't be in the same room with somebody, and I usually need to work with an engineer. So I'm trying to do all this stuff on my own in the studio, which is really funny because sometimes like I get rid of stuff and I'm like, oops, oops, delete. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, well, there goes the vocal. But
necessity is the mother of invention.
I know. And it's really the time, because if I could sit here and learn everything, but I love to listen. I love to have a relationship with music where it's not staring at waveforms, honestly.
Yeah.
I like to stay in this emotional feeling space, and I don't want to, and I know that's like an excuse for my resistance to being too technical and everything, but I don't know. I just don't, I want my engineers to have that, and then I have something different as a producer and as a writer and composer. And plus, I don't want to be sitting in front of a computer for hours and hours, like making a drum loop, stuff like that. So it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to work my way around that and finish that EP. But I've really been working on this meditation record where I just when I'm feeling, I have the mics all set up, and I'll go and put down a piano track, then I'll put down a vocal track, and then I put down some percussion, and then so I'm doing everything on my own. Which that kind of music can lend itself more to just me doing my own thing. And then when we all get out in the world again, when we're free, I'm going to go in with an arranger, a string section, and do like the lush strings.
Oh, nice.
And things like that. That'll
to
make
fill it out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I don't, it's like when I'm getting a massage and I listen to music that I love, I have certain records I love. They're not necessarily like new age, but I want to make this lush, beautiful, relaxing, ambient record where layering my voice and with lots of just beautiful, beautiful textures that doesn't necessarily fit in any genre, but it's calming, and it's also people can use it for healing, relaxation, yoga, meditation, and all that. So that's something that's going to come out later in the year. And as well, I know this is a long-winded answer, but
no, not at all.
Tons of remixes that I've put out remixes as singles from my album Here in Heaven. There's many and bonus tracks that have never been put out. So that's all going to come out on a compilation, and I'm getting the remixers to like turn in their remixes now and all that. So
this is so exciting. We love the remixes. So
thank you.
Obviously, you know your way around a studio, and you grew up in a musical family, and also you've been working professionally in music since you were young. I mean, I was so impressed to read that you were in the children's chorus for Sing with the Carpenters, and then also in It's a Small World for Disney. What was it like as a young child, loving to sing and going in and being a professional, and these are projects that are still heard every day, no matter what's going on,
It's pretty amazing. It was actually my sister who sang on that record, Sing, and she was 8 years older than me. So she started doing it obviously way before me. But she'd go and do movies. I think she did a film, I think it was called Lost Horizons. Like she'd go and sing on these things, and between like being in the studio with my dad and knowing that my dad was like a well-known producer, but more than that, just being around my dad playing the piano and just having music around us all the time. Then my sister started doing it, and I was like, oh, come on, I've got to do this. But I was so little. We would sit there at my sister's voice lessons, and I'd be in the other room listening to her, and I'd be like, I can't wait to do this. And I knew it was for me, and I just kind of had to wait till I was old enough to where I guess my dad felt like, okay, enough singing along with the radio and everything. You can go and audition for this man who was like the big vocal contractor in Hollywood, in LA. His name is Jimmy Joyce, and he hired all the singers, and he had a kids group because a lot of people wanted kids for commercials and movies and everything. So I'll never forget. I went to his house in the Hollywood Hills. I remember like the light blue shag carpeting, velvet furniture. I mean, it was like right when I walked in, I was so shy and I was so scared. And I auditioned. Somehow something came out because I was so painfully shy. And I probably was around 8 years old. And he really believed in me, and he liked me. And he used to like, my chin was down at the ground and he would push my head up and say, I can't hear you. Let me hear you. And he just could feel my passion for it. And he hired me on a dog food commercial. So he really believed in me and then kept hiring me. And then he ended up passing away and his wife took over. But there were so many jobs that came up. It was like Knott's Berry Farm, Disneyland Records. It was so much fun, you guys, to be in school and like that little pink slip comes in the class. And that slip would come in and my teacher's like looking at it. Donna De Lory, please get your things. You're going to be away for a week. Get your materials to prepare. And so I'd get to be like,
a working girl.
Schooled at the studio, running around like CBS Studios or NBC. And like we would run in and out of soundstage and look at all the shows that were going on. And we do like specials where we'd be like the kid group in the special. And anyway, it was so amazing. I mean, how could I ever think I was going to do anything else?
Yeah.
And
I'm sure if something like Kids Bop was around back then, you probably would have been the star of Kids Bop.
I wish I wish my mom, like I used to beg her to take me to the auditions for Annie. And my mom had her issues because her mom moved her to Hollywood when she was a teenager to try to make her a star. So my mom was really like not into pushing me. And I don't know, my mom just didn't want to do that. She was more like grow up. And if that's what you want to do when you grow up.
Yeah.
Okay. But, when you're older and you look back, it's like, why didn't you make me play piano? Why didn't you make me practice more? Why didn't you take me to this auditions? And Molly Ringwald was like the one that was in all that stuff. So I was always like, those were my parents and they weren't going to push me. I mean, they would just take us to those jobs and pick us up when we were done. But then I ended up being, a teenager and still getting those jobs, but I had to look like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And I had to literally, you guys, when I was 16 and I had like raging hormones and we'd go into these sessions and there was like the cutest assistant engineer in the session. And here I am 16 with like ponytails. And I had to wear like overalls and ponytails because they had to think I was younger. And
right,
and
16
like,
playing 12.
Yes, absolutely. That's what you had to do. And it's so funny. I'd be like trying to talk to the assistant engineer, I'm really 16.
He's like, go away, little girl.
What's your number?
He's just trying not to get arrested.
Yeah, right. No, he was really young too. There was one that I remember, a Kim Carnes record that I sang on. And it was just so funny, just some of these memories. But I ended up moving to Nashville at that time and being like, trying to be a pop artist in Nashville, which was nearly impossible at that time. So I had to go back to Hollywood and start sleeping on studio couches, literally, and like be there when the producer walked out, so I could be like, "Can I sing on this record?"
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned Kim Carnes. I'm curious, like, what other musical influences did you have growing up? Were you listening to the Carpenters, or were you?
Yes.
I think pretty much everybody was listening to the Carpenters in the 70s.
Yeah, it was required for 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys. I mean, her voice, Karen Carpenter's voice, was incomparable, and
yeah.
I love the purity of her voice. There's so many things about people's voices that I couldn't, like Stevie Nicks. I couldn't quite. It just resonated with me, and my voice, I could sing really well with Stevie Nicks. Like I could harmonize so well and blend with her. That's where I was when I was a kid, and with my voice, and Linda Ronstadt, of course.
Oh yeah,
good call.
But honestly, when Pat Benatar came out, you guys, because I was always leaning kind of like country rock growing up, kind of rootsy with like maybe Joni Mitchell, like folky, rootsy country rock. But that's not mentioning my whole disco phase and everything, but as for singers, right? When Pat Benatar came out and I was like 15 or 16, I was blown away by her. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in the car with my dad listening to Heartbreaker. Heartbreaker, dream maker, don't you mess around me. And her attitude and the way her voice sounded and the way she could sing like full voice really high, I could do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I want to be a rock singer. So that was that. And I got really into rock music. And my dad, who wasn't like that kind of producer, he tried to produce me with those kind of tracks. And he would write songs with his like older friends for me, which were like not quite there.
Was he more jazz influenced?
No, he was more like, I mean, my dad came from like growing up playing with big bands. And he was born in 1930. And he was like the child prodigy kid that was playing with the big bands because my grandfather was a musician and was on Broadway and everything as a singer. And my dad was raised to be a musician, playing piano. So he ended up getting into the whole session scene and was in Phil Spector's Wrecking Crew, into that tight group of musicians that played on like all the famous records that came out. Like
the Wall of Sound.
The Wall of Sound. So he was part of that. Then he went on to like play with the Beach Boys, and he went on to be a producer at Capitol Records. So he was like he was from obviously a different generation, and he was trying to keep up, you know, in the 70s doing disco. He did some disco records and worked with Gladys Knight. And I used to go in and sing on the disco records and everything. But he was trying to, you know, and then he supported me, and he saw my passion and opportunity there to like write some songs in that vein. And I would go in and demo them. And then they'd put all the like delay on my voice and everything, just like Pat Benatar. And I would love hearing my voice back with all that effect and delay. And then we would shop the tape, and I was like 15, you know, we'd shop it to record companies, and it just didn't quite make it. But anyway, it was a nice effort. And looking back, it was really fun that we got to work together and everything. And and it's just such a great thing that we could share. And he knew, like, my sister wanted to be a singer, and my brother as well. But my dad saw in me, like, I was like going for like theater in school. My brother was too, but I was like in the talent shows. I was so like hungry for it, and really begging my dad to like accompany me and to hire me on and sing his demos and things. And I would go to his writing sessions and work out songs that he was writing. So I think he knew that I was going to do this, and I had the determination to do it. So we really shared that passion. It was a huge bond that we had.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So on your most recent album, Here in Heaven, you wrote the song Piano Man for your father. I was going to bring this up since we're talking about it right now. Yeah. And there's a line that you wrote that says, "With my hands, you'll keep playing," which, we think is a beautiful tribute to him. Is
Piano man, with my hands, you'll keep playing. At this piano, I sat beside you. We'd write your notes down and sing along. The greatest gift you ever gave to me was this beauty.
I mean, you just mentioned, your father was a huge musical influence. So is that why you started playing piano? And that's kind of like what put you on the right track to become the musician that you are, right?
Yeah, I think there was always this upright piano in our house, and my parents were divorced. So in my mom's house, you walk in and like right away is this little upright piano that my dad actually had done so many arrangements on and written songs on. And it was right there. So I started taking piano lessons, and, unfortunately, like I didn't have the discipline really. Like I was so into sports and was kind of a tomboy and into gymnastics and everything. And I'd so much just like to be outside all the time. And then I'd go to my dad's house on the weekends, and he'd be playing all the time. And he was an incredible musician. So I'd end up just kind of sitting next to him and humming along and just appreciating him and watching him he'd be scoring a movie. So he'd have his scoring paper there and playing all the chords and writing the notes. And I just thought early on, I'm like, okay, well, I'm a singer. He's the great piano player. But as I got older, I think I didn't even try to be a musician because I thought I can never measure up to what my dad was and is. And until my dad passed. And when he passed, I stopped doing that to myself of thinking like, I'm not a good enough player, and I'm really a singer. I thought I have all this music in me. And absolutely, like I could sit down, and my dad was a great arranger and a great string arranger. And I can hear those notes and I can play those notes. And that idea, I don't know if you guys have lost a parent or friends, of course, who are, especially when they had all this, everyone has so much inside of them, such stories of their lives. My dad had so much music inside of him. He could play any song from memory, right? He had such a skill, technique. What he knew about music history, it was like, oh my gosh. I always counted on my dad having that. Yeah. And I could just sit next to him and sing, and he would have all that and play. So it was this real realization when he passed, because I was so upset. Where did that go? Where did that go? I would look at his hands. I was holding him when he passed, and his hands were just curled up, and those beautiful hands that I used to watch playing the piano all the time. I was like, where's the music? Where did it all go? And I started writing that piece. And one day I was in the shower, and I thought, I just heard that line. I just heard, with my hands, you keep playing, piano man. And that's really to carry on for your parents. And literally their cells are in you. Yeah. So on a scientific, on that level, they are in you. And that it's just a really deep realization. So to sit down at the piano now, I'm like, I feel my dad there with me, and I can feel his talent with me and in me and everything we shared. And then I can also just trust that okay, I'll hit some wrong notes here and there because I'm not thinking of what key I'm in or anything. I'm just letting my fingers move around, honestly, because I'm not that trained with the technique, but it's not going to stop me. And it's still in me. And, I'm not sitting there with a music paper scoring a movie, but it's all in me. And there's that realization. And it's also kind of feel a responsibility too, to keep it going.
It's a musical legacy that, I think you have a duty to keep putting out there,
Absolutely. And I have This Is the Piano. That song was really about this piano that my grandfather, who was a musician, gave to my grandmother for their wedding present. And this is the piano my dad learned on. And this is that piano that I used to sit next to him while he was scoring. Wow. And then I've just, it's an old piano. It's over 100 years old. It's heavy. When somebody comes and works on it, they're always like, this piano. They're like, those low strings don't even work and everything. And I ended up also getting my dad's Steinway when he passed, which I had in my room as well to play. And then I had two pianos, and I ended up saying to my brother, AD De Lory, I was like, why don't you just got to take this piano because it's a way better piano. It sounds so much better, but I really like this piano that was my dad's and my grandparents' has been with me through when I was sleeping on those studio couches and wherever I lived, some funky apartment somewhere, I managed to take that piano everywhere.
Oh, bless your heart.
Through my adult life.
Moving pianos is not an easy thing.
No, I don't even know how I did it. I mean, I'd be living one time in a pool house. I lived in this house with 5 girls. And I had the piano. So I'm so attached to it. So that song is about that. And I have it now here, of course, in my studio. And on this record, it's so funny. I keep thinking I should go into some big studio when we all get out and record on a Steinway or a Yamaha or something. But I don't know. The sound of this piano is so personal for me. So
you don't want to part from the sound that feels familiar.
Yeah, yeah. And so we'll see. I mean, I might do some just to have like some different sounds, or I can go to record on the Steinway that my brother has in his house. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you started working with Miss Madonna. I had read that you were responsible for the Open Your Heart demo. Can you sort of talk about that a little bit? I'm curious as to how that all came together.
Okay, there's a guy named Gardner Cole I met on a demo session when I was just going and singing demos. I used to charge $50. Okay. And this was my life. And it's so funny because I lived right next door. Who was a good friend of mine, my next door neighbor was a prostitute and I was doing demos. So we'd both like go out for the day and I'd go out. She'd do like 3 calls or whatever. And I'd do like my 3 demos and we'd both be like driving all around town. And even like I'd drive for $50, I would drive to like, who knows where. It'd be like Palmdale or somewhere in the hill, in the middle of nowhere where somebody has this little tiny 4-track studio. And I'd show up and sometimes the song wasn't even written yet. And to get my $50 and get out of there, I had to help write the song.
Oh, jeez.
And I just I got to get my $50 so I could sing the song and get out of here, get to my next job. So I was on one of those jobs. I met this guy, Gardner Cole. He became my boyfriend. And he was a songwriter and he was signed as an artist to Warner Brothers. So all the songs he wrote, he'd written this song with another guy named Peter Rafelson. It's called Open Your Heart. And he always put his voice, because he was an artist on Warner Brothers, and he put his voice on all his songs he wrote that they were trying to pitch to other artists. So they pitched it. His management was like also somewhat connected with Madonna. The whole Warner Brothers, Simon, who was the guy who signed her?
Seymour Stein.
Seymour Stein.
Yep.
That whole connection. So they got it to him, they got it to those people. She turned it down. And I remember it was like, he thought it was a big shot for him. He thought he was like in there because he was an artist on Warner's. And then he had said to me, I loved the song to begin with. And I think between the two of us, I was like, I do demos all the time. I should sing this. So we went in, we worked on it, I remember, for a long time. And we changed melody to make it more for like my voice. Mm-hmm. And I changed some like I did on the chorus. It was like, open your heart to me. And I would sing like, open your heart to me. Mm-hmm. Just little variations on the melody. And the bridge and everything. So we changed it. And then he submitted it again. And then she wanted to do the song. So that in the meantime, that was like on my demo tape. I was running around trying to get a record deal myself. But then that song was out. I was like, okay, Madonna's doing it. Oh, well.
Thanks, Madonna.
Thanks, Madonna. Take it off the demo tape. But I was like really attached to the song, and I was trying to find other songs like it and everything. So she did the song, and I just went on doing more trying to get more songs on my demo tape. Meanwhile, this guy named Bruce Geitch had heard it, who was also writing with Gardner Cole.
He's an engineer too, right?
Yeah, but he was one of the writers on La Isla Bonita. And he's an old friend of Pat Leonard's from Chicago and from the whole jingle scene, because Pat Leonard was Madonna's producer at the time, band leader and producer. So I got introduced. So Bruce really believed in me. Like, he loved my voice. He made sure that Pat hired me to work on, and Pat loved my voice from the Open Your Heart demo. He hired me to start working on all the records he was producing and all his demos. And I remember the first one was Jody Watley, that song Most of All.
Oh, I know that song well.
I needed you most of all. So I did the demo on that. Same story as Open Your Heart. And then Jody did it. And then some other songs for other artists. And then it was just such a step up for me, because I was like working at a publishing company. I might have had another job, and I was doing all the demos and everything, barely making my rent, and all of a sudden, like, Pat Leonard is hiring me all the time to come in and sing on like Carly Simon's record, Fee Waybill. I sing a lot of backgrounds with Richard Marx on all
Who
this
was also
stuff.
on True Blue.
Right, exactly, because of Pat Leonard. And who else? Like Ray Parker Jr., any artist Pat works with, I would go in and sing. So I was like, wow, I'm really like getting up there now in the session scene and everything. And that was really great. He was like once you get in with a big producer, it's a lot easier for you. So then I heard about the tour coming up in 87. And I, from the very beginning, I was bugging him. I was like, Pat, you don't know this, but I'm also a dancer. And I'd been training since I was a kid. And I was like, all instrument, that's a whole other story. Like growing up, doing disco competitions with my brother and practicing in the basement. And my brother was a major dancer. And we used to, I was really influenced by his dancing and got into that. I danced in the clubs as a teenager, and I danced on American Bandstand and everything. I was like,
nice.
Come on. You gotta get me in there. He said, no. She hired these girls from Little Shop of Horrors. She loved the concept. It was like 3 African-American singers who were maybe already on Broadway, and they were a unit. And I was like, ugh, so that went on. They were starting rehearsals. I'd still go in and do sessions with him, and I kept bringing it up. And he's like, no, these girls are doing it. So one day I was at home. It was like, I remember it was a really hot day, and I got a call from him saying, what are you doing? And when somebody like that calls you, and no matter what you're doing, you say nothing.
Right.
You're like, oh, nothing. Why? So he said, well, we're at SIR Studios, and one of these girls is not working out. We have to replace her right away. He's like, I don't know if Madonna's going to go for the concept of having, of this, but I want you to come in. And I love your voice. I really want her to meet you and everything. And I was like, okay. So he said, I'll call you later with the time. And hung up the phone. I was in this little apartment, North Hollywood, hot day. I'm sweating away. I have this little wall unit air conditioner. And I'm like, okay, I got on the phone. I called a friend to do my makeup. I got clothes together. I got my hair done. I was like, okay, I'm meeting Madonna. This is going to be, I've got to look good. I got to warm up my voice. I was like, I've got to be my best. And I waited and waited for hours. He finally calls me and he goes, no, she decided to do a really big open call audition.
Oh, geez.
So you have to come and audition. The band's going to be there. You guys have to go and whatever. So I show up at this rehearsal hall. There's all these singers. Everyone I'd known in LA, I was like, hi. Oh, hi. You too? Okay, hi. And everyone's all dressed up and everything. And we're up on this balcony. And I'm looking down at the band and everything. And I'm like, where's Madonna? I don't see her. I mean, I hope you guys don't mind. This is a long version of the story.
No.
Go on.
It's kind of interesting. So I'm looking for the girl from the Material Girl video. And, I'm looking down for the blonde and everything. And I see this a little person with a suit with short hair and glasses. And I'm like, where's Madonna? This is so weird, but I hear her voice. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Madonna. And she starts saying, come on, you guys. And, let's get going and everything. And they decided somehow that they're going to bring us in groups of 3. So they bring us to the stage. I go down there. And she was standing right next to me. And it was we're doing La Isla Bonita, which if you guys know those parts, that's unison.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so 3 people that I haven't really, 2 other people I haven't really sung with, we're singing in unison. And we have to be dead on the note. And it was hard. Yeah. And I remember I'm up there, you just jump on this rehearsal stage. You've not been on there. You've got 2 people they were bigger than me. I couldn't hear myself. I just remember oh my gosh, this is a disaster. I couldn't plug my ears and hear myself. I was trying to look cool and everything. And Madonna stops the whole thing. And I don't know, she said something. Maybe it just wasn't going well, whatever. Well, Pat goes, maybe Pat Leonard, the producer, stopped. He goes, oh, okay, I want just Donna and Madonna to sing the bridge. to La Isla Bonita. Thank God I knew this song, you guys. So, because it was like, I had to do this quick. So we went to the bridge and it was like, I want to be where the sun fills the sky, and that whole part. And she's got her back to me, and at some point she says, like, why aren't you singing? and I mean, of course I've like exaggerated it over the years that she like yelled, and I was like, whoa, Madonna. But anything that would come out of her mouth, I'm sure it was just like, whoa. Yeah. You're intimidated. So she said that, and I was just, of course, like, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, I was singing, I promise. And so Pat just stepped up and he goes, Donna was singing. He's like, I told you, you guys, your voices would blend perfectly. And she was kind of stunned for a minute, and she, just made some comment like, okay, well, will you sing on all my records? It was really sweet. And I was confused. I was like, do I have the job? Like, what does that mean? And so that went really well for me. But at the end of the day, I think we had to keep waiting around for people to do their auditions. Then they were like, well, can you come back? So then I had to go back and dance. But some of the dancers were there. And I think it was Shabadoo was there. Yeah, it was Shabadoo. And just from growing up in the dance world and in clubs and everything, I just knew the language, and I could relate with him. And I think right away that was apparent. I went back and I started doing the dancing and everything, so they knew I could dance and pick it up. So her, even when she wasn't there, like the dancers and the choreographer Jeffrey Hornaday they could see that I could do it. And I think it was like a time crunch to learn all this stuff. So that is how I met Madonna. And like a couple days later, we were in the bathroom, like putting our lipstick on at the mirror and just having girl talk. And, of course I was like pinching myself, and it was just, looking back now, it was just such a whirlwind, you guys. Yeah. And it took me a while to like get used to it. But then when we got into this like hardcore work and the rehearsing and everything, I realized this is a job. And I just have to be my best. And then the person who you'd known as the star and everything just becomes a real person to you, somebody you work with every day. And then you just want to do your best work. And the great thing about Madonna is she just lifts you to that place because she's such a great artist, and her discipline is off the charts. And I'd never been around anyone like that. And she really, she just makes you bring out the best in yourself, and she demands that. So that was an amazing thing. Yeah. To be lifted in that way, and to see my own artistry be lifted.
We want to talk about the tours a little bit, but before that, I want to get more of a backstory of how you and Niki met. I was one of those guys in the 80s that I read all the liner notes, so I was well aware of you because I listened to Belinda, I listened to Jody, Madonna, and then I'm listening to Martika's self-titled debut album and More Than You Know, and there's great backup vocals on there, and it's where I first saw both of you together, and it's very, very evident that it's both of you singing, and it just blew my mind. Is that where you guys met, and how did that initial meeting go, I guess develop to Blonde Ambition and then through the tours, et cetera, because you guys are still a duo.
I know, for life. It was 87, a few weeks after I got in there replacing someone, another person didn't show up for rehearsal, and she started kind of letting the director know that she might not want to do the tour. And I remember just thinking, what is she thinking?
Is she crazy?
Is she completely crazy? And I was like, oh my gosh. So we had to replace her. And there was another big audition. It was like, I don't think it was as big as the one I went to as far as singers, because it was so last minute, you guys, that they just needed to like put the right feelers out and have the right people recommend really great people to come in. So someone had recommended Niki. She was in Vegas doing the Righteous Brothers show.
Ooh.
So she flew in. She has her own story about this. She was in a show. I mean, she left her hotel room and came to this audition. And I remember when there were some other people, when she walked in the door, her energy was she was so spunky. She had so much energy, and she was so cute. I mean, she was just this beautiful girl and cute personality and spunky energy. And she was really funny, big personality. She could sing great and she could dance. So right away, I was like, okay, she was the first person that could like, we could hang together in this way. We could both do these dance moves. We could both, which was rare to find someone like that. So I was really impressed by her. Right away, she had this like banter with Madonna. And maybe it's because they were both from Michigan. It was kind of like a sisterly thing. And so it was really great. I mean, it was a relief that we found somebody great. She made me laugh. And it's always so much fun with Niki. Never a dull moment. So that's how we met her. And we, because of the stress of the situation of her having to learn all this stuff so fast, we became friends, and we really got to hang out during the tour after we started touring. And we used to lay on the floor in the private airplane. I think it was like a Sheik's airplane that would like real gold faucets and a bedroom and a shower, bathroom with a shower and everything. And we'd be hanging out on the floor watching movies with, eating popcorn.
Oh my God.
And her and I used to call each other pooters. And we're like, pooters. We were like these little kids. Oh my gosh. We had all these private jokes between us. And we used to do we both grew up watching a lot of I Love Lucy. So we used to we had that kind of like physical humor. And we were characters together. And we always cracked up Madonna.
I mean, we could see some of that in Truth or Dare. A lot of times I'm thinking when I watch that, like, God, I want to see more Niki and Donna from the cutting room floor because I'm sure it's really funny.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There was that one scene where we're in Spain and they didn't show this whole thing, but we used to do like this thing called the Fran and Jenny Leibowitz show. And we were like these like older women that sang in a nightclub in the Starlight Lounge. And we did Madonna covers.
I'm obsessed.
Oh my God. And we were like the Fran and Jenny Leibowitz show. And we did these accents and everything. And so we decided we were egged on by someone at this private party. Pedro, how do you say his last
Almodovar.
name? Almodovar.
Yeah.
Had this party for Madonna with all the stars of Spain. It's in the movie, you guys. That's that scene.
With Antonio Banderas.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Lewis told us that he was in drag at that party.
Exactly. So we were all, oh my God, I'm sure we were like drinking and partying. Somebody tells us to get up and do the Fran and Jenny Leibowitz show.
Oh my God.
And we were doing some of it on the boat when we were singing Like a Virgin.
Oh, right.
Right. That Niki sang Like a Boygen.
Like a Boygen and everything. So we get up. We don't even know that on display on this little stage was this very famous bullfighter's cape. We didn't even know. I mean, I think Niki or I probably was Niki. She like took it and put it around her and to use it in our little Fran and Jenny Leibowitz show. I think Niki probably remembers this more, but I remember that it was like not respectful. And this was like, they filmed all this in the movie, but it didn't make it. You don't remember seeing that, right?
No.
Yeah, so we did a lot of things like that where we were just like kind of cracking everyone up and Madonna was laughing. And now that I look back on it, it's like we didn't quite know what we were doing. But that was all part of that movie. And we were just on top of the world. And we were, doing anything we wanted to do. and not realizing, oh my gosh, just not realizing that that's a once in a lifetime experience. Because really, things that happen on that tour, and thank God that was being filmed. It never did happen again. With, I feel, the way that we were all like a family.
Well, it was also way before social media, well before anyone had cell phones. Everyone was just sort of being present with each other. You were communicating with each other. It was all that you had. Nobody was tuning out on their cell phones or, posting on Instagram.
No. And we were all like, there was so much stuff that you guys don't even know. Like, we were all obsessed with the Truth or Dare game. We were all playing it all the time in our hotel rooms. And like, we had all made out with each other. Honestly. Like everybody. Because that was just our, by the time that scene was filmed in, with Madonna with the bottle and everything, we'd been getting like crazy with each other, and we knew each other so well, and everyone knew each other's business. That's the thing. So honestly, like when you picked Truth, everyone knew your business. Like if people were in relationships, you knew you were going to get asked those questions, and you were like being filmed. So you had to always pick the dare.
Right.
What's funny?
You out yourself.
So in the last couple of weeks, they've been I've been seeing memes on Instagram of just a screenshot of Madonna with the bottle, and it says day 24 quarantine.
That is so funny. Oh my God. Yeah,
So-
that was an opportunity that I couldn't resist asking her that question.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank God you did.
Right? And she took advantage of the opportunity, all right. Yeah.
So I'm just curious. So recently Vogue celebrated 30 years, which was unbelievable to me. I could not believe the song had been out for that long.
Yeah, it feels like it came out yesterday.
And I remember that the first little sign of Vogue that we got to see was at the 89 VMAs, where I believe that was also the first time I had remembered seeing you and Niki performing with Madonna. And you sort of broke out a little bit of Vogue choreography. And then, of course, the following year at the VMAs was the famous Victorian dress up of Vogue with the fans. And Lewis had told us that was the when you performed the actual show on the VMAs live, that was the very first time that no one had dropped their fans.
No, exactly. You guys, I was so stressed. We did it was an AIDS benefit. Like right after that. It was either before or after that, and I actually dropped my fan. But it wasn't being like televised. And I remember, even Madonna felt bad for me. It was like, well, somebody was going to do it.
Right.
And thank God it was not. I was sweating that, oh my gosh, with everybody watching you. Not only is the world watching you, but like every star that you love and admire is like watching you. So it's pretty high stress. The concentration was incredible.
Did you know because I always look back at that performance and say that was the first time the VMAs had ever seen a performance by an artist be so elevated. People were performing and singing and dancing, but I felt like when Madonna came out and all of you were dressed up and you did that iconic performance of that song, that was the first time that the VMAs had ever sort of seen that. And then that was sort of like every year after that, that's what people did. They were just trying to make it this big, ostentatious, presentational performance. Did you know when you were doing that you were doing something special?
We did know. From every bit of preparation, we went to this costume house, I remember, to look at costumes. And it was like, this is like a movie costume house, or more from movies than theater. But the elaborate costumes. And then we would do like hair and makeup tests with the wigs at her house, which I have a picture of me sitting on her, like at the dining room table. My brother was with me. There's a really great picture under a Keith Haring painting of me with a wig on with the makeup. I mean, we did more than one test to get our look down.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of it, Vince Patterson as a director, oh my gosh. I mean, the cast, the direction, Madonna, where she was at with her career, and just the way she could, the diva queen attitude in that song. And even we overdubbed over the track those fans and sound effects, so it would be more effective. So every single detail, as everything was always like that working with her. There was so many details to be taken care of that just, and all these artists learn from that. Mm-hmm. But she's still the best with the details. And I knew, of course, when I didn't drop my fan, no one else did. That was really good. There was so much like acting, and we just got into these parts and we played these parts, and it was so much fun. And that we were a family. We just had, you could tell that we were like acting, but we're having so much fun at the same time with each other, playing around. And every little bit, like when we lifted up our skirts, when we said, oh, let's lift up our skirts and do this, that grind. And everything was so much fun. And we all felt like we were part of it, because we felt like we were all contributing. We just gotten off tour. We were in, as I remember it, we were in the south of France at like a rap party. And we all were saying, okay, we want to do let's do the VMAs. And we were all kind of brainstorming on concepts. And I remember we were like, let's do Dangerous Liaisons. Let's do Elizabethan. And I just remember us tossing around that idea. And then there we were a few weeks later when we got back, went into that. So it was all incredible. My daughter, Sophia, it's so funny. Like, I never showed her any of the stuff from the shows or anything. At one point, I was on my computer and someone showed me, like, I don't know, somehow that video came up and she watched it and she just could not understand that was me. Mm-hmm. She just couldn't get it. It was like, she was little and she's like, you're one of them dancing? It was so cute because of the way I was all made up and everything like that. It was just so cute.
Well, I know I was obsessed with the performance. When it came out, I was watching it live. I recorded it on my VHS tape, and I must have watched it and learned the choreography so many hours after that. I mean, I don't know about you, Tony, but yeah, that song was on heavy rotation the entire 1990 and since then.
Oh yeah,
it's so great. I remember when we went in to do that session, and every time I'd go into work on a Madonna record, it was like a new sound, Yeah. And I'm trying to think of maybe what previous record we'd worked on with her. I don't know what it was, but she had been working with a new producer. We went in, and it was like, it was so dancey, and it was so different than the other music we had done with her, where it was more right off the bat a club track.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it just had her lead vocal on it. It didn't have the backgrounds. And I mean, those backgrounds are amazing, I gotta say. Yeah. Like I believe that she still uses the tape, those backgrounds in her live shows, you guys.
Yeah, she
does. Because every time I go see a show now, I'm like, that's us. I always wonder if they're still going to be using them. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're iconic. It's like they're like horn parts.
Yeah.
And that was India Davenport singing with us on that session.
Oh, she's great from Brand New Heavies. She's amazing.
Yeah,
I love her.
And it was an amazing session. So I have to say that, like, the whole concept was amazing and everything. But when I remember hearing back those vocals, the way we would like layer them, the group, like we'd do like 2 or 3 layers of the performance, hearing it back, I knew it was going to be huge. Mm. And there's that. My dad used to tell stories about when he worked on a hit record or he produced something, how everyone in the room would just have chills.
Yeah.
They just knew it was going to be something really big. And it was amazing. Yeah. So I'm so proud to be part of that. Not only the performance, but the record.
Yeah. And After that, you guys recorded again with Shep Pettibone, "Rescue Me," which is a criminally underrated Madonna track with some
so
amazing
good.
background vocals.
I know. Oh my God. I got to go back and listen to that.
I
I
remember
always try to
hearing that.
remember all this stuff.
I heard that on the radio. We came in as the song was being played, and the Immaculate Collection hadn't come out yet, so we didn't know that was an official Madonna song. And I was listening to it, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a house song, so I'm in love. But I was like, the woman singing sounds awfully familiar, and it just like to me, I just knew it was because hearing you and Niki on the backup and Madonna on the lead, I was like, I just know this is Madonna. It has a Madonna sound to it, and I've been obsessed.
So cool.
Been obsessed with it ever since. And we were as fans so looking forward to hearing it. She was supposed to do it on the Madame X tour, and
oh really?
And she then at the last minute did a swap out. I'm not quite sure what went down or why she took it out, but it was she was saying that it was going to be on there, and so everyone was like elated. There was like parties in the streets. Madonna's performing "Rescue Me" after all this time. Amen, hallelujah. And then she didn't, and we were sort of a little crestfallen because it was like the one song people have been waiting to hear her sing live, and we didn't. But it's okay.
Wow.
It's okay. So some time passed between Blonde Ambition and Reinvention. So how did you get back into the groove? Pardon the pun.
So what year is this now?
So Blonde Ambition was 1990, and then
well, there was Girly Show and Drown World.
No, there was Girly Show.
How
94.
could I forget the Girly Show? Oh, it's because I wasn't there.
So there was 94, and then we worked with her like on Evita.
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, that's right. You guys did the Miami mix. How could I forget?
We did a few of the. I remember. I thought we did some remixes.
Yeah, you did Buenos Aires and Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. That's right.
Right, and then so we would do, and we saw her, as friends and hanging out and stuff like that. But she'd been doing like. I remember when she was getting ready for Evita and everything. We were all so happy for her. This was such a perfect role, something she wanted for so long. And then trying to think of what came before. Well,
you guys sang on Survival on Bedtime Stories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there were things like over the years, but there was that long break, and then I was doing my own, like I did my first indie record. So I was really like touring on my own. I had a cellist that was my partner, and I'd been doing that like through the 90s. I went out and did another tour with Mylène Farmer, who's a French, they call her the French Madonna.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And she was amazing. I spent a lot of time doing that. So then it was just great for us all to come together again. It was really amazing. Honestly, every time, I never knew if I was going to do another tour with Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we all, last party, it's like at the end, you say goodbye and you don't know when you're going to see each other again. She's really busy. You don't know what she's going to go off and do. You don't know what you're going to do. And every time I was always, of course, pleasantly surprised, but I was honestly always surprised. They'd call me and I'd be like, okay, we're still here. And Niki and I had remained singing together and been friends and everything. So we were like a little unit.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really fun getting back into that again. And we did, what it was we did the promo for music. That's what I'm thinking we did before the tour.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those concerts that we did like in London, New York? Was it just London, New York?
For
it
music,
must be London because I don't recall seeing you guys on the New York.
It was also New York where we were like they were like hay bales, and we had a string section, live string players with us.
No, you're right. You did a promo tour for music at Roseland, and then you also did a show. Yeah, you did a show in London. I wanted to go see the promo tour at Roseland, and I did not get to go, and I was so annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was an amazing event. It was just a huge party. And it's so funny. I just recently pulled out of storage a bunch of stuff, and I pulled out some shirts that I got from that event. That I was like, I got to wear one of these. It's cool. It's got rhinestones on it and everything. That was great. So that we kind of got back into it there. We did like MTV Awards, I think, that year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did the tour. We went out and did a bunch of promo.
Well, I know there was the Grammy performance that you did of music.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember, I think it was around that era. I'm not quite sure when, but I remember hearing Niki talk about how she was always so happy after you got through the deep knee squat portion of
Oh
that
my
song,
God.
because she hated that section, and she would pray that she would just like the Lord would just lift her up to get through those. And I just, because I remember when I think Madonna and you all broke out those deep knee squats for the very first time at the Grammys. I think that was the first like televised moment. And I think I even like gave people like a little Madonna quiz. It was like, how many times does she do deep knee squats in that performance? And it was like 17 or 20 of those.
I thought it was 16, but it's crazy, you guys. That performance, 2 weeks before that had gotten, it was like a windy day and I'm out hiking and a tree fell on my back, literally.
Oh no.
And I was like taken away by paramedics. They were like taping my head. I mean, it was so dramatic and everything. And then I went to these hot springs to just kind of heal my body. And thank God I hadn't broken anything. And I get a call from Madonna's old manager, and she calls me and says, "Can you do the Grammys with us?" And of course, I mean, my head was to one side. I was like, felt like I just got hit by a truck. I was like, sure, yes. So I got myself together, and I remember especially those squats after having an accident like that. And I didn't tell anyone that I had an accident.
Oh man.
Because I wanted to do it. And I thought I would be totally better. And I remember just taking a lot of ibuprofen. And it was especially hard on that performance. I remember it was really fun, and the style of it was so great. But to get me through that, I remember loving the percussion, like Luis Conte and his son were doing the percussion. They were right behind us. So I remember I needed that percussion, and the drums turned up so loud so I could like get through that, do those squats and everything.
Well, you never would have known. You did it. You executed it flawlessly.
Well, that's cool.
And yeah, even in Drowned World, you and Niki have some of the best riffs during music. It's like you guys just turned the song upside down, throwing in the Daft Punk, and it's just magic. And we loved seeing you guys on stage again for Drowned World. And then you continued to tour with Madonna up until Reinvention, correct?
Confessions.
Yeah, I did. Madonna and Niki had always been, I think, more like first and foremost had a professional relationship with Madonna, and I think Niki and Madonna had that more. They were more friends, and they had a different kind of friendship, and I don't even know what happened. I mean, I know Niki was kind of doing her own thing and everything. So they had called me, and Niki and I had just had our babies one day apart, like a year before that. So a lot had changed, and I ended up going out, and we had to find a replacement for Niki. So so I went out and did.
She's
that
irreplaceable.
Tour. Exactly. And that was my whole point when we were trying to replace her. I was just like, oh my God, this is, and I knew this is, even though I continued working on with her, it's never going to be the same. We're never going to be in the show the way we were, because it was a chemistry thing.
Yeah. But it's important to note that Saida Garrett and Nikki Richards are amazing in their own right. Oh
my gosh, they are amazing. But as far as that, the thing that the three of us had, that was just its own thing. And the directors even knew that. And our places in the show were different, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always looked at the three of you as like Madonna's little girl group for the very first time. She'd been this solo artist for so many years. And then here's Madonna. It was like Diana Ross and the Supremes. It was like, that was her little moment. And then that changed. And I will still see on Madonna message boards or tweets or Facebook or whatever of people screaming that Niki and Donna need to come back and perform with Madonna. Every time Madonna announces a tour, it's Niki and Donna need to come back. And so, but
they're still alive. Bring them back.
It was a place and time. And I think, like what Madonna did with the backup singers after Niki was no longer with you, it sort of just changed how she did her shows. And
well, we became backup singers, really. And it was like, it's so funny. I used to joke on the very last tour that I did with her. I used to say that, like, I could be drinking champagne on our riser, like toasting Nikki Richards, and like no one would even see. And that's okay. I mean, the hard time I had with that was that we were right behind the keyboard player, and he had like a sub bass cabinet, and it was really hard to hear. And the vibrations of the sub bass, it was really challenging to be in that spot. I used to say to Madonna, like, can you put me somewhere else where I could just hear better? And they were like, no, they already designed the stage, and they tried to get us moving around a little bit. But
I remember one of my fondest memories of the Confessions tour. You did join Madonna during Lucky Star.
I know.
And I was fifth row center for Lucky Star, and it was right. You and Madonna and were right in front of me. And I remember I winked at you and you winked back, and I was elated. That was my
that was so much fun, because it was so it was so celebratory and fun. And I got to like, oh my gosh, I love to be out there with the fans. And I like to go out and see people, you know? So that was a really fun time.
Well, that same night, I loved seeing you in Disco Inferno. I thought you were just killing it. You guys looked so good, and it must have been so much fun. And now that I know that you're a disco dancer, it must have been heaven.
It was finally your time. It was your Saturday Night Fever moment.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
All right.
No, that was fun.
So moving along, I know after Madonna, you sort of drastically changed. You altered your music career after Just a Dream and Praying for Love. You sort of moved into creating mantra music, which we mentioned at the top of the program. What about the mantra music was more fulfilling to you than doing stuff like Just a Dream or Praying for Love?
Yeah, I had back on my first record, they were like, I was a new artist, and I was with MCA Universal, and they kind of blew it on my first single, which was Praying for Love in the States, but I had a hit in Asia, like Southeast Asia and Japan. But here they just kept throwing things out for me. And they're like, let's try this. Let's try a AAA radio remix. Let's try that. And then they put out like the Just a Dream remix. And then I had a top 10, I think, like a Billboard dance hit on that. Yeah. And then they sent me like on a tour, like just Ireland and Scotland, all over the place, like playing pubs, very similar to like what Madonna did in the beginning, like playing these very small clubs and everything. And I was singing to tracks, like remixes that I had barely heard. You know, they were like these club mixes. I just felt like I had gotten away from like the song and my artistry and everything. And I was by myself. I didn't have a group or a producer with me. And I really, honestly, you guys, I was just like, this isn't fun. Yeah. Like, what am I doing? And how long do I have to do this for? And it of course was really hard because I had already been out with Madonna, and you know, I don't know, I had like certain expectations for myself off my first record, and I was kind of disappointed in that, and I was just like, it wasn't fulfilling me. So I went back. I ended up working on another record for that record company, which I discovered world music. And I found all these really cool producers, like English producers, that wanted to work with me. And I wanted to go more in that vein. And the record company wasn't down with it, whatever. And we ended up going our own ways. And then I made my own indie record. And that was still like English, but it was more, I had always been into like spiritual studies and philosophies, and I had a certain outlook on life and certain like hymns. Like I had a version of Amazing Grace that was on that album. It's an album called Bliss, and that was released in 2000. So that was my first indie album.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me.
So I got to go out and be an indie artist, and that's where I found the fulfillment of being an artist, finding my own voice, my own songs, and my own style. So I started working with a cellist. I started playing harmonium, which was like it's an Indian instrument. very kind of meditative, used in India to play devotional music.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's because of working with the cello and more world music and playing this harmonium. I somehow ended up like a lot of artists that were friends of mine started chanting in LA. And I started going to like parties and we would chant, and they would chant and do like concerts, and I'd go sing with them and everything. And there were certain chants that I really loved, and I started like putting them in my pop songs. And I have this song On and On that I used to do this chant, Ganapati Om, in the middle of that song. And from taking yoga class and studying, learning about some of these mantras, I knew that the meaning of it was removing obstacles and removing the obstacle of your mind. And I always loved that because I thought when I'm singing, like I really want to get lost and I want to be in this more transcendent kind of place. I don't want to be like witnessing myself so much, being self-conscious.
Yeah.
I want to kind of set that intention that I want my mind to be free. And I just loved these. I loved the meanings and how it felt to chant the mantras. And so pretty soon I was like just there with my harmonium, and I'd be like, oh, I'll just make a song out of a mantra. So now at that time, this actual record company came to me who was kind of out of Kundalini yoga scene. And they gave me a record deal and said, will you make a record of just mantras? And I honestly, like I knew like 2 mantras. And I thought, well, I don't really know that many, but I mean, I'll try. And then I thought, well, I also sing in English. So my whole thing as far as like the mantra music that had been going on at that time, like, I don't think anyone was singing mantras and English. Like I just naturally did that. And so I have this song, Hey Ma Durga, which was one of the first mantras that I learned, which was a prayer to Divine Mother energy, which I feel has many names. This is one name. And even in Hinduism, there's many, many names, and this is one of the names. And the energy that by chanting this mantra, you're asking for this strength and this energy of the mother and embodying these qualities. That really resonated with me because I had just become a single mom. And I was really trying to like turn, I was really scared of being able to still be an artist and being a single mom and everything. But chanting this mantra, I felt like this was bringing me strength. And then this whole concept of always trying to see through the illusion to the truth. That's in a lot of the mantras and a lot of the philosophies that come from India and from Hinduism, Buddhism, a lot of Eastern philosophies.
Yeah.
So I really, I always resonated with that since I was a teenager, and I read a lot of books. I had always been studying those kind of spiritual principles. So it was very natural that, I started doing that. I made that record and it just flowed. I mean, I remember putting vocals down. It was so easy. Like it was different. And when I would sing, I wasn't like, I was in this different kind of ambient place that was more kind of definitely transcendent. And it's almost like I wasn't singing anymore. I wasn't the one singing. it was just happening, and I was witnessing it. And that was the first time I remember singing vocals where I felt that I had that feeling.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I noticed when I saw you perform this music at Joe's Pub several years ago. And I thought, wow, her, hearing her, sing on all these Madonna tracks and, her solo work from before, but your voice translates in a way that I didn't expect. There was so much truth and conviction, but it also seemed like you were channeling something, and it was a really, really powerful night. I did not know what was going to happen, and I came out with like this new appreciation for this kind of music. And I love that you keep putting out this content. And I was going to mention that, you started out working with Belinda Carlisle on a couple of her, earlier solo albums. And now Belinda is doing this type of music too. She lives in India. And I know that you guys did a gig recently. Tell us about that for full circle moment, because it must have been really powerful.
Oh my gosh. This is a huge full circle moment. And, I'd worked with her And I've been part of some of her huge records and a big tour for her.
I can hear you on all the songs.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the studio, I used to joke around that I might have been in the studio more than her, because we would, like, with the producer, Rick Knowles, we would record these vocals. We would record so many vocals, and then he'd be like, oh, we're going to throw all those out and start again. We were going to do different parts, because he knew that those backgrounds were such a big part of the song making the hits. And we were there while he was arranging and everything. So I spent hours and hours and hours in the studio on those. And I was proud of it. It was amazing. Went on tour with her. We there was a girls' bus and a boys' bus, girls and guys' bus. And Becca Bramlett and I, the other singer, ended up on the guys' bus with the band. And she was on the bus. Belinda was on the bus with her entourage, like her makeup and hair, her stylist and everything. And so we were like hanging with the band, and she was with her entourage. So I didn't get to like hang out with her so much.
Right.
And so we weren't like buddies. But, as you guys know, in that movie, I had like imitated her, right?
Right.
She didn't know. Well, no, what she didn't know and nobody knew is that, like, when I grew up, I loved Stevie Nicks. And I used to imitate Stevie Nicks by somebody hitting my back. And I used to say, stand back, like that. And I love Stevie Nicks. Like, I wasn't putting her down. I was just trying to sound like her. And it was funny. And we used to do this like tiny anyway, it was just something we did as a joke as a kid. So when I did that and the way it came off in the movie, I always felt really bad about that, because I don't mean to, like, Belinda was not a great friend, but I mean, she was a friend.
Yeah.
I don't mean to talk bad about her. I didn't want to talk bad about anybody or make anyone feel bad. Right. But at that time I was like, oh, we were both on the same label. I think I got signed to MCA Universal. Right. Oh my God. So that was also probably part of it. So I had been out like doing my tour, and I heard that she was offended and everything like that. And I didn't ever get the chance to talk to her, and all those years went by and everything. So, whatever, years go by, you forget about it. But I always inside, I always wanted to tell her the truth about that, and that I always loved her and I admire her voice and everything. So my brother is like waitering at Basics at a, place in West Hollywood on Santa Monica Boulevard. And she came in with her son, and my brother said to her, this is not that long ago, like 2-3 years ago or something. He said, my sister, Donna De Lory. And Belinda said to him, oh my gosh, Donna, I love Donna. And Belinda told him that she's really into my mantra music.
Oh, wow.
And she said, oh my gosh, I'm such a fan of her music now that she's doing, because that's all I listen to. And that's the music I really love. And then that must've been the time when she was coming out with her mantra record, So, I ended up getting in touch with her, and we have like this reunion. Like, it was so sweet. I wanted her to come and sing on Kundalini mantra that I was recording. She came and sang on that. And then I was like part of some of her events. We basically been collaborating, and it's been so beautiful. And we did this video. I cannot say enough great things about her, the woman, this beautiful woman that she's always been, and she's really become more and more. Her self-realized, just her whole being.
Yeah.
I really love her. And I could tell when we first got on the phone and talked after all those years, it was so beautiful. And you guys know from like years and years of relationships with people, it's so satisfying to reconnect with someone. And it was so nice that like she'd become a fan of my music. And I said, well, and she's really into Kundalini yoga and everything, and that we could collaborate. And I brought up that idea to her, we could collaborate, and she was really into it. So that was beautiful that we're like on the same path. And we recently we did a shoot for the video. And I gotta tell you, this is so sweet. it was just this beautiful moment. We were talking a lot about our lives and everything in the dressing room. And I looked in her eyes, and she's just so beautiful. I just said to her, I've always wanted to tell you that I was really sorry for hurting you at all by that imitation in the movie. I don't even know if I even explained it that much, but she knew what I was talking about. And she goes, and of course she was like, "Oh, Donna, that was so long ago," and everything. And I looked her in the eyes, and I just said, I really love you, and I really love your voice, and I always have.
Mm-hmm.
And I really respect you, and just know that I love your voice, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you, and thank you so much for being in my life and everything. It was a beautiful moment.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean,
we don't always get to have that with people.
No.
And that was really important, and she's just a great person, and I'm really happy to have her in my life now. And I always love following her and seeing where she's at and everything, and all the things.
I know
she
she is quite the globetrotter, but yeah, it's amazing. I loved hearing the story. I have loved Belinda since day one. That her voice just speaks to me.
Her voice.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, we better watch it, or this is going to become a Belinda Carlisle podcast.
Oh my God.
But
sorry, you can edit
it's
as
fine.
you want. But anyway, just telling you about, and I know that just everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
You always want to have that moment with someone that you might have had a falling out with, or maybe you don't feel quite that just perfect about your last communication or something.
Yeah.
I never thought that you were throwing shade at Belinda Carlisle at that moment in Truth or Dare.
Yeah, I didn't either, because I knew that
any more than Madonna was throwing shade at Oprah when you guys went to Chicago, and Madonna was on the Oprah show, so they made up too. See?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just the way it was edited. And you know what? I didn't really think that much either, except when I was on a promo tour and I heard Belinda had said some things that how much I hurt her and everything. Mm-hmm. She thought I was her friend. So it was one of those things where you need to, you just need to let somebody know how much you appreciate them.
Yeah.
And how much, I was just so grateful that she was joining me in the project. And we didn't get to finish the video because we're on lockdown now, and Nick Spanos is directing it, and we have beautiful shots. So I hope that is going to come out as soon as we can finish it. And she's a big part of it. And then I'm helping her with some of her organizations and things, and
I'm so excited to see what happens with you and Belinda's collaboration. And please tell us everything about your upcoming project and your new single that is releasing today. Yeah.
So Diamonds in the Sun. Now this is, speaking of, music for yoga and mantras and everything. 10 years ago, pretty much to the day, a version of this song called Diamonds in the Sun came out by a friend of mine named Girish, who's another mantra artist. He's a really great songwriter. One of my favorite artists in that genre. He's been a friend of mine. He's actually played tablas on all my records, and I've sung on his records. So he asked me to sing on this song, and it's the chorus is in English, but then he uses a mantra, which is a peace prayer called. The mantra is Loka Samasta Sukhi No Bhavantu, and that's may all beings be happy and free. It's kind of like, may my actions and my words and my thoughts contribute to this happiness and peace for all. It's just a beautiful mantra, which is really powerful, especially now. And then it goes to this hook, Diamonds in the Sun chorus. This song is always been with me. I love the chorus. I thought I want to do a version of that myself, because I'm featured on his version, and his version is done really well. It's like a yoga hit, on Spotify. It's had millions of listens, and so I finally figured out an arrangement, and I said, well, can I kind of rewrite this and add some of my own parts? And so I added a verse that's an English verse and a bridge, and make it maybe more like a pop song, but it still has a mantra in it, and it's my kind of pop song. So I just recorded it with my guys. It's very acoustic, and we're working on a remix now. But I love the message of the song, and it's just saying, it says the meaning of the mantra, and the mantra's in there a bit, and then I added the words to it. It says, we shine like diamonds in the sun, every one of us. Every one of us shines.
Mm-hmm.
We shine with every color of one spectrum, one beautiful light. And that's how I feel. And that we're all beautiful. We're just all beautiful colors of this one light. And
no, I was going to say that's such an important message for right now when we all feel united by this, this single thread, just, being in quarantine and
we're all one in the same. We're all united. We're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
It's that message, and we are one. We are one. If that's your mantra, great.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. We're all in this together. We all need to just keep repeating that and remember, no matter who it is and who you're upset with or you feel angry towards, or you have to try to find that peace and knowingness that this person's a reflection of myself. And I ultimately have to wish this person peace. And I have to have good thoughts and towards everyone. And I have to have acceptance and ultimately love in my heart. So we have to, I feel like just listen to, it is important to listen to positive music that uplifts us.
Mm-hmm.
And I love we go back to Bright Light, Bright Light. The message of his song, it's got a similar message. And wanting people to feel how important they are and how special they are.
Yeah, Rod mentioned something similar that, he didn't write the song with the intention for it to hit the way that it does now when you hear it, because of what's happening in the world. And he says even more so with his album that's coming out in the fall. So I'm excited for all these happy accidents. And we're also really excited that we're going to play Diamonds in the Sun at the end of the podcast so everyone can hear it, and you guys go out and download it and buy it and, look out for those remixes because I'm going to do that for sure.
Yeah. Are we going to be getting some more Donna De Lory house stylings in the near future?
Oh my gosh. I got to get, I was talking to Tracy Young about doing a remix for Niki and Donna and, maybe get her to do something. I love house music,
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of just finding those collaborations with the remixers that are really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys have some suggestions, I'm totally
let's put
excited about that
project with Tracy Young out into the universe because I think
seriously, that would be fantastic.
I mean, it would be great for her to do this. This song could be really good, and she can find some different hooks and add her own thing. I'd love to collaborate with her.
And your album, do you know when your album is meant to come out, or has coronavirus sort of thrown a wrench into that sort of schedule? Because I know you said you were planning to go to New York to mix, and
I know, and we're not doing that now. Now I'm like, who's mixing it? So hopefully, I wanted the EP to come out like in spring, early summer. So that's going to be delayed a little bit, and then I'll get the remixes out. They're pretty much all done, so that'll come out as soon as we got to finish the artwork and put that on the schedule. And then the meditation album, I want to have it out. Definitely want to have it out before like Grammy submissions.
Yeah.
Because I want to submit it for Grammy for a new age category. And that's something I'd love to get that. So that would be amazing. So that's like late August and September. And I just love collaborating with DJs, and especially now I've been reaching out to people I hear on Spotify on playlists, and I'm like, you got any tracks? Send them to me. I can put vocals on them and send them back to you.
Isn't it great how the music industry has changed where you don't really have to depend on anyone anymore? You can just go out and do it,
I love it. I mean, why not? You could just take someone's track and put some vocals on it and send it to them and say, do you approve of this? Can we split this as a copyright, and I can, let's put it out as a different thing, different piece of work. And, do you know the artist Joseph Arthur? You guys know him?
I know that name. I can't put a name to a sound, but I know that name for sure.
So I recorded his song called In the Sun. Mm-hmm. And this was like one of the first, I felt like it was more of kind of devotional in nature, although he's an alternative artist, and it was an alternative rock song. And I heard it, and the chorus says, "May God's love be with you always." May God's love be with you always. And that's become like one of my top songs. And as I always do when I cover a song, I changed it a lot and I kind of made it my own style. It's not rock, it's a little more worldly and it has the cello and the harmonium in it. But I recently had posted an old clip of me doing it and he commented on it. And then I started following him on Instagram and he's such a prolific songwriter. He's a New Yorker. I've just been getting really into his artistry lately and his voice, he's been posting all these acoustic songs where he's singing, of course, as we all are.
Yeah.
And I've always loved the sound of his voice. So I just sent him one of my chant tracks, one of the mantras. And I was like, oh my gosh, will you sing on this? So it was kind of, cause he's actually into yoga and mantras too. So it's so much fun. And I got a really good reaction from him. He was like, oh yeah, I got to get to this and I'd love to and everything. So it's really fun.
Oh,
why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Everybody, if you guys have ideas, don't hold back. Reach out to people, especially now. Message people.
It's a great time. Everyone's stuck inside.
We're stuck inside. And it's everyone, we all have this creative part of us that maybe we had it when we were a kid and we went away from it. We can get back to it. So it might be writing a journal every day and drawing little pictures in your journal or making music or doing some editing on your computer. But it's such a great time to explore. It's an opportunity to go back to that part of yourself.
Definitely.
So I hope everyone is doing that. And then share your work.
Yeah.
Share to inspire more people. And it'll just be a ripple effect. And nothing wrong with binging on Netflix and everything, but we have so much time.
Yeah.
That maybe we can spend some of that time getting back to that part of ourselves, drawing and, doing some art and doing projects and.
Yes, I had my creative fix before we podcasted today. My niece is turning 5 and I had to do a Hello Kitty birthday cake for her. So,
that's so cute.
That was let me tell you, I have a new appreciation for people who do big cakes because just doing a stencil of Hello Kitty my hand was trembling. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this.
And the pressure of it.
I'm like, she's going to hate it. She's going to hate this, but I think it looks okay.
Yeah, but then before you know it, you've finished and you've had a meditative moment and, all is well in the world.
Centered or had some tea and all of
Where's the cake now?
Yeah, where's the cake?
It's protected under a Tupperware container so no one can trash it.
Okay, we'll take a good picture of it.
We're doing the those new birthday parties where you just drive by and have balloons outside of the car and you wave because
isn't that sweet?
Social distancing, you're not allowed to sort of congregate around them. So I'm not quite sure how we're getting the cake to her, but yes, you drive by and honk your horn and roll down your windows and wave, and that's the new birthday.
I
party.
love that. Well. That's sweet. My teenage daughter did that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hey, Stefan, it's time for my favorite part of the podcast. You have to tell Donna all about it.
Yes. So, Donna, I think I had given you a heads up. We always do a lightning round of questions with our guests. And it's just where you're at currently right now. Doesn't have to be that this is where you're at forever, but it's just off the top of your head without sort of thinking too much on it. So they are Madonna-related questions. But so you should be a pro at this. Other than the video that you're in, what's your favorite Madonna video?
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to say music. That just comes to the.
Oh.
They're all so amazing, but.
Well, that one's fun. I love.
And Niki's in it.
Niki's in it. So I'm going to say
yeah. All right. So, out of concerts or photo shoots or videos, do you have a favorite Madonna look that she's done?
I love her more natural look. I loved that, like you were saying, that 2000 when we did those promo shows after she had just had Rocco and like around music that time. And like for Don't Tell Me, like I love the country look.
Such a good look.
And all that. Yeah, I just like her. I always loved her and even like when I see her natural hair color too. Yeah, I like that. I see pictures of her from that time. She had a little more weight on her, and she was really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, she looked great.
Mhm.
This is a specific Madonna lightning round question for you, since you actually were able to perform with Madonna. Do you have a favorite number that you performed with Madonna, either on tour or an award show?
Oh, well, it's a toss up between Keep It Together for Blonde Ambition.
Mm-hmm.
That you guys, they were all so amazing. It's so hard, but I remember the feeling of that. We were talking about the family vibe and everything, and then of course the iconic performance at the MTV Awards for Vogue. Yeah,
Well, and those two
I
are
mean-
totally different vibes as well.
Yeah.
I
mean,
know.
We have to mention Rain in the girly show. That was
I
amazing.
know, you guys. Rain, and we got to plug our version of it too.
Yeah, you guys
that song
haven't
is
downloaded
so
it?
good.
Nikki and Donna do an acoustic version of Rain, but then there's also remixes, and it's all good. Like, I play the whole thing from beginning to end, and I'm like, I need more.
Rain, feel it on my fingertips, hear it on my window pane. Your love's coming down like rain. Wash away my sorrow, take away my pain. Your love's coming down like.
And then seeing them perform it live is even better.
Yeah, it was
it's
beautiful. It was
fun.
super special.
Yeah, we really made that song our own, and now it's super fun.
It belongs to you now.
We'll always do it. Why not?
One last
Why not?
question. Do you still have your Blonde Ambition tour jacket?
I do. The one with the crown, right?
Yes. Well,
Yes.
we're just curious who still has all of those momentum.
We asked Lewis and we asked Kevin, and they seem to have
I
lost
definitely
track of
do.
them.
They did. I thought I had, because I was using it, unfortunately, as a ski jacket for a long time. And so I totally wore it out. Like, what was I thinking? I'm like, this is going to be like an item.
A
like
museum
one
piece.
day.
Oh yeah.
I know.
If you
And
ever
it's
fall
all
on
worn
hard,
out.
if you fall on hard times, or you need something to support an upcoming record launch or whatnot, that jacket on eBay will probably help you.
Right? Nikki and I were talking about that. We're like, we could always, it's so funny because, we have a lot of pieces from those tours and everything. So nobody feel bad if we ever do sell anything to raise money for our own music.
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys get to have a really special piece. We have other pieces, and it's, we have a lot. And, sometimes you got to travel a little lighter in this world anyway. So
Yeah.
Marie Kondo your life. What doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, we've been it's been raining here and we've been in quarantine. When the sun comes out and we're out, everything's coming out of my house. It's going to be like, does this serve me? Does this bring me pleasure? Yes or no?
Well, I know
no.
Tony will be willing to buy the Causing a Commotion Jean-Paul Gaultier jacket that you guys wore in Blonde Ambition. He will buy that off of you in a heartbeat.
Although I was...
I don't think I have that, you guys. I gave that away.
Not to me.
Is that unbelievable? You guys, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
How I used to give everything to all my friends, and now I'm like, oh, come on.
Well, it just goes to show what kind of a person you are. You're very loving and generous, and we thank you so much for sharing this moment with us, and telling us these stories, and sharing your voice as well. We're going to close the show out with Diamonds in the Sun, but we just wanted to say thank you, Donna. Thank you so much.
If you haven't, go and support Donna. You can help support artists by streaming their music on Spotify.
Stream. Yep.
She's also featured on Bright Light. This Was My House.
You've got all the time in the world now, so stream. Yeah.
Stream.
Yeah, everyone is. I know they already are, but it's such a great, it's a great opportunity to just fill your life with uplifting, beautiful music that helps you. Yeah, also as a tool, music is a tool to get you into that good frame of mind and keep you positive and hopeful.
Yeah,
and keep you feeling united with everyone, because we all are one in this. And I pray that we choose love and not fear.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things that were considered normal before this are not going to be normal anymore. And I take full faith in that. And I hope the best for everyone, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you everyone for listening. I'm always happy to share these stories and my experiences with you. My whole time with Madonna is it's just golden memories for me. And I have just nothing but great things to say about the whole experience. And I'm always happy to share thoughts about it. So
yeah, and we thank you so
Till
much
next time.
for doing it. Yeah, we appreciate it.
And we want to thank our listeners too for choosing to listen to us during this time. I mean, you have your, plethora of things to choose from, but you're choosing to listen to us. And we have been loving putting out new episodes every week. It's helped us as much as it's helped you. So keep listening. Follow us on all social media at MLVC Podcast on Instagram. MLVCpodcast.com is our website. And we'll see you guys next week. And we're going to close out with Donna De Lory, Diamonds in the Sun. Listen to this song and then go out and make it your own. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Donna.
All right. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much.
We shine, and we shine, and we shine. Loka samasta sugino bhavantu. Loka samasta sugino bhavantu. We were born from the light of the one love. Every soul has the right to know peace in this life. May all beings be happy and free. We shine like diamonds in the sun. Every one of us shines. We shine like diamonds in the sun. Every one of us shines. Samasta Sukino